He was born in 259 BCE in the war-torn state of Qin. The boy was named Yingzheng. His father, Prince Yiren, was a hostage in the rival state of Zhao when he was born. The sound of war drums echoed across the land, and the child who would one day call himself first emperor opened his eyes amid chaos and fear. Yingzheng's early years were marked by loneliness. His father remained far away in Zhao, trapped by politics. His mother, Lady Zhao, raised him under constant tension. The young prince was taught to hide his emotions, to watch, to listen, and to wait. He learned early that trust was a dangerous thing in a world of deceit. Though a prince, he lived not in comfort but in suspicion. As a child, he witnessed how hostages could vanish overnight, how whispers could cost lives. The politics of the warring states shaped his heart into stone. He dreamed not of toys, but of armies and walls. Of a land united, where no child would grow up in fear again. When Yingzheng was 13, his father finally returned to Qin and became king. Soon after, his father's death placed the crown upon the young boy's head. At an age when others still played, Yingzheng began to rule. The cold lessons of his childhood became the foundation of an empire. He remembered the insults, the fear, the betrayals of his youth. They burned inside him like an unending flame. That fire would later drive him to conquer the 6 kingdoms, to unite all under heaven, and to erase the pain he once endured as a child born in captivity. The boy who once played in the palace gardens now carried the weight of a kingdom on his shoulders. His name was Yingzheng. The throne was his, but the power was not. For years, ministers and regents ruled in his place. The court was filled with whispers, plots, and ambition. The young king learned quickly that in the world of power, trust was a rare treasure. During his teenage years, the court of Qin was a battlefield of deceit. Lu Buwei, the once powerful chancellor, schemed behind the throne. Rumors even claimed that he might have been Yingzheng's true father. But the young king tolerated none of it. By the age of 21, he seized absolute control. Those who betrayed him were executed, and the power of the regents was destroyed. The boy king became a ruler feared and respected across the land. At that time, China was divided into 7 warring states: Qin, Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan, and Qi. For centuries, these kingdoms fought for dominance, their lands soaked in blood. But Yingzheng saw a different destiny. He believed the chaos could end only when all under heaven were ruled by one, by him. His vision was not of conquest alone, but of eternal unity. The campaign began with Han, the weakest of the 7. Qin's armies marched like thunder, disciplined and ruthless. Within months, Han surrendered. It was the first domino to fall, and the beginning of Yingzheng's empire. Zhao resisted fiercely. Its generals were brave, its soldiers loyal. But Qin's strategy was unmatched. Through calculated sieges and psychological warfare, Zhao's capital, Handan, fell in 228 BCE. Soon after, Wei followed. The river cities turned red with battle. By 225 BCE, both kingdoms were gone. Qin's banners flew higher than ever. The kingdom of Chu was vast and powerful. Its armies outnumbered Qin 2-1. The war was brutal. For years, villages burned and soldiers fell. But Yingzheng's general, Wang Jian, led with precision and patience. After countless battles, Chu finally collapsed. The mighty southern kingdom bowed before Qin. The northern state of Yan tried to assassinate Yingzheng, an act that sealed its fate. Qin retaliated swiftly, crushing Yan's armies. Only Qi remained, isolated and exhausted. In 221 BCE, its king surrendered without a fight. For the first time in history, all of China stood united under one ruler. In that year, Yingzheng declared himself Shi Huang, the first emperor. He was no longer just a king, he was the son of heaven, Ruler of all under the sky, he standardized laws, weights, and currency. He ordered the building of vast roads and walls, the first steps toward what would become the Great Wall of China. Beyond the northern borders, the Xiongnu tribes rode like the wind. They burned villages, stole grain, and vanished into the deserts before dawn. No army could chase them for long. Qin Shi Huang knew, if the empire was to survive, it needed a wall that could stand for 1,000 years. Hundreds of thousands of men were sent to the mountains, deserts and valleys. Farmers, soldiers, and prisoners all worked under the burning sun. They carried stones, built towers, and died along the path of the wall. Each brick carried sweat. Each tower carried a life, and yet the emperor's will was absolute. When the wall began to rise across the horizon, the people saw more than stone. They saw the mark of the emperor's strength, a sign that China was now won. Watchtowers lit signals of fire at night, stretching across the mountains like a dragon of flame. It was not just a wall of defense, it was the voice of an empire. The land, once divided by endless battles and rival kings, now bowed to a single sovereign. Yet, his ambition did not rest with conquest alone. He sought to leave behind symbols of eternal power. According to ancient Chinese records, once the unification was complete, Qin Shi Huang ordered that every bronze weapon across the conquered lands be seized. Swords, spears, shields, and arrowheads, all were to be melted down. No blade would remain that could threaten his reign or spark rebellion. The molten metal, once instruments of war, was reborn under his command. From these countless weapons, the emperor forged 12 colossal statues, known as the 12 metal colossi. Each stood as a monument to his victory, a declaration that the age of war was over and that the will of Qin would endure for eternity. Historical accounts claim that each statue reached a height of 5 zhang, around 11.5 meters, and weighed nearly 1,000 dan, roughly 70 tons. Their shining bronze surfaces reflected the sunlight, casting golden light across the palace courtyard. To the people, these were not merely statues, they were the embodiment of heaven's mandate, the divine approval of the emperor's rule. Within the emperor's grand palace, the 12 metal colossi stood in solemn silence, guardians of the empire, witnesses to the birth of a new era. They symbolized the transformation of chaos into order, of division into unity. The weapons that once spilled blood had now become the pillars of peace, at least as the emperor wished it to be remembered. Though the statues have long vanished into history, their story endures. For in the heart of every empire lies the same desire, to forge peace from the weapons of war and to immortalize power in the hands of one. In the final years of his reign, Emperor Qin Shi Huang sat in his golden palace, surrounded by silence. He had done what no man before him had achieved. He had unified all of China under one rule. 6 kingdoms had fallen before his armies, and the Great Wall stretched like a sleeping dragon across the land. Yet, despite all his power and glory, the emperor's nights were filled with fear. He had conquered the world. But could he conquer death? Every illness, every sleepless night whispered the same truth, that even an emperor's body could wither. Qin feared that death stalked him, hidden in shadows, waiting to claim the Son of Heaven. He refused to accept it. If mountains can be moved and kingdoms conquered, he said, then life too must be bent to the will of the emperor. So began his desperate search, the quest for immortality. He gathered the greatest healers, mystics, and alchemists from across his empire. In the capital of Xianyang, hundreds of them toiled in secret chambers, mixing strange ingredients: mercury, jade powder, gold dust, and herbs said to be touched by the gods. The palace air grew heavy with smoke and whispers. Each potion promised eternity, yet each failure brought executions. Night after night, Qin demanded new elixirs. He drank shimmering liquids that glowed under torchlight, believing they would make his spirit divine. But the mercury inside slowly poisoned him. His hands began to tremble, his voice weakened, his mind clouded with visions of deathless gods. He ordered his men to search the seas, to find the fabled islands of immortals said to lie far to the east. The court sorcerer Xu Fu led great fleets into the eastern sea, carrying young men and women, treasures and offerings for the gods. They were to find the herb of immortality and return to the emperor. But the ships vanished beyond the horizon, never to return. Some say they reached Japan, founding new settlements. Others say they were swallowed by the endless sea. As months passed, Qin's health worsened. His body grew pale and swollen. His mind drifted into paranoia. He believed death hid in every shadow. Even his physicians terrified him. He ordered guards to execute anyone who spoke of his weakness. The palace that once echoed with royal decrees was now filled with silence, fear, and the scent of burning mercury. In his final years, Qin refused to remain in the palace. He set out on a vast journey across his empire, searching for new healers, new elixirs, new hope. But the poison had already taken root. On a lonely road in the western provinces, the first emperor of China collapsed, still clutching a vial of his deadly elixir. When he died, his servants built the grand mausoleum of Qin, sealed with rivers of mercury said to represent the flow of eternity. He had not achieved immortality in life, but through his monuments, armies of terracotta, and legends of his reign, Qin Shi Huang became immortal in memory.